Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you today and with Laurika Bretherton, who is my Swedish Reiki master. And I love her to death. And she is also a writer, a videographer, a traveler, and a wise woman. So
Oh my God,
welcome
thank
to
you,
you.
Ali.
Welcome to you. And welcome to everybody in the chat. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here with us today. We're going to be talking about one of Laurika's books that is really fabulous. And there's a lot of fodder in here to discuss, I feel. And we're also announcing the fact that we're going to be doing a book club. And I had wanted to do this for a couple of years now. And every time I did, it sort of fell apart. But I was trying to do it in the beginning when I didn't have that many people that were coming. So today we're going to talk about Laurika's book, A Dreamer's Life. And it is a series of stories and poetry that she wrote while she was traveling. And we're going to talk about that. And I'll put this up next time. I'll put this up later too. But this is the book we'll all be reading. Susan Fletcher's Witchlight. It's Laurika's favorite book. I have not read it yet, but it looks like it's very interesting historical fiction, correct?
Yes,
Based
that
on,
is it. Exactly.
based on a time period and so on. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it takes
it's
place
not
in Scotland and England.
okay. What
Yeah.
I like too about this, what is it? Even got, oh, it's got some interviews in the back. I hadn't noticed that. But it's about 350 pages, I guess. So we're going to be coming back in a month from now on March 14th. So hopefully if you're interested in reading it, you'll be reading it with us. And I'm sure she's going to reread it because she likes it.
Oh,
But
yes.
got a good excuse to do
I
it.
don't,
Yep.
yes, exactly.
Uh-huh. But if you're wanting to read it so that you can add to the conversation next time, please do. This time we did not announce. And so we are going to just be talking about her book. And if you're interested in buying it as well, it is available on Amazon. So is this one. I got it on Amazon. So it's called Witchlight. I'll put it up later. But I wanted everybody to know what it is we were going to do. So welcome everybody. I see we got more people here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us, and happy Valentine's Day. I usually say happy VD, but that has a negative connotation. Nobody wants VD.
No, I call it Love Day. Happy
It's
Love
Love
Day.
Day. Yeah. We kind of made it so that we had to love, if you know what I mean. We
Yeah.
set it aside to use for, but it should really be something we do every single day.
Yes,
Right?
that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. Laurika, if you don't know her background, Laurika is a woman who was not happy with her situation when she was living. I think you were in South Africa to begin with your ex-husband. Is that right?
No, I was in London. We were
You were in
living in
London then?
London when this
Oh,
book
okay.
took place. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you were in London when you decided to leave?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. Correct.
All right. So she quit her job. She left her house and everything behind because she felt called to be a dreamer. She was a dreamer. She wanted to live. I call it the unconventional life, I guess, because a lot of people would say, "Oh my God, I'd never do that. How could you do that?" I haven't done it to the extent you've done it, but I have done it. And we talked about that the first time that I interviewed you, and we had so much in common with that kind of a thing, taking the risk and jumping in. So
Yes, yes.
so the beginnings of this, you talk about the red clay of Africa, and in the red clay of Africa, of which you were born, because you're from South Africa, you just wanted to go back to the roots, I guess, and start from the beginning in this. And are you journaling this in a journal when you're doing it? Is that where you start this, or?
Yeah, what happened was I did not plan to write a book at all. It
Right.
wasn't, I didn't do this journey because I wanted to write a book about it. Because I'm a writer, when I have, especially when I go through tough times, I write.
Right.
This is my therapy.
Sure.
So I just write everything down.
Hmm.
And as it started with when I also, part of the reason why I left first, it was a process. I first
Yeah.
left my marriage, and then maybe 8 months later, that's when I quit my job and I left my
Okay.
apartment, and then I just went off with a passport and a suitcase. But I wanted to write. The whole thing was I wanted to live my life that I can do the thing that I had passion for, and
Right.
for some reason at that
Mhm.
time I felt I could not be who I want to be in the situation I was in.
Right.
And so I started writing. I was always a writer. It wasn't that I wasn't a
Right.
writer. I
Right.
started writing about the process at the moment I left my marriage, and
Okay.
it just for me was that's how I started.
That's how you started it.
How the book
Um,
went.
and you're by yourself, so you don't really have anybody have
No.
anybody that you could really talk to. So you're
Yeah.
ending up speaking through the writing, and you can
Yes.
see it. You can see some of the fear. You can see how you came and brought yourself over it, and you can see, I don't know, there was some part in here that I read that you said you were laying in bed at in some hotel or place that you were staying, and you can hear the rain on the roof, and
Yeah.
but you're all snuggled in, and I felt like home is where you make it. So it
Yeah.
wasn't some place that you personally lived in all the time, but it was the fact that you had yourself and you had this space and you were very grateful. The gratitude comes through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I read
I
that a
think,
lot in here. Yeah.
yeah, that part that you write, that I wrote there was, I was staying in this artist's house in Port Elizabeth. I met the most amazing people along my journey,
Uh-huh.
and I never met this lady before. I decided to take an art class because my father was a painter,
Okay.
and I never thought I could paint because that was his thing. You're
Right.
not gonna.
Right.
I don't. I'm not a painter.
I'm
I'm
not
a
as good as
writer.
he is. I can't be. I know.
Yes. So, isn't that funny? So when he passed, I decided on this journey. Well, I'm going to try this painting. I'm going to try it. I'm just going to take a class, and I met this woman at her house, and we just had such a connection. She
Yeah.
invited me to come and stay with her and her husband in her house. And then they were going away for like 5 or 6 days. And we don't
Mhm.
know each other, but she was
Mhm.
like, "Do you want to stay in my house and look after my dogs while we're away on?"
She just knew. She knew.
Yeah.
She knew
And
you.
it was in
Yeah.
that house where they had this fish pond outside, and there was rain coming down, and it was such
Uh-huh.
a safe space for a
Right.
few days to be. So it was beautiful.
Whenever things like that happen to me, when I find myself in a place similar, or it doesn't even have to be similar, but a place I thought I'd never be, let's say you couldn't imagine it. And so
Yeah.
you're in this place and you say to yourself, wow, I never thought I could be in this place, and it's almost like the wonder and the awe of the experience. This lady, she obviously trusted you, like you said. You're
Mm.
taking care of her animals for her while she goes away. And isn't it also that part of the book where she says she's going to lose all of that because the
That was
water's
another
coming up?
lady. That
Oh, that
was
was another
another
lady.
lady.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was
Yes,
another
that
lady.
was an amazing. It was also she had an arts she had like a arts studio where she sold paintings. So it was another
Right,
artist. So this was
right.
like a journey where I met with all these
All these
artist
wonderful
people,
people.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, she had a farm, and
Uh-huh.
this
That's
farm
right.
was next to a big dam that supplied water to the town, and
Right.
they were expanding the dam. And her farm was on the banks of this um,
Yeah.
dam or water. reservoir.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it was going to, I don't know if they ever built it,
Mm-hmm.
but at the time it was supposed to have started at that time.
Okay.
And
And it was going to flood her
flood
out.
her
She
whole
wasn't going to be
house.
able, yeah,
Yeah, it was
which
just
is
such
another
a
type of loss. And
endings
what I
and
liked,
beginnings.
yeah, it's like a metaphor. In
Mm,
other words, you you got the message that your life wasn't working the way that you wanted it to work, and
mm.
what those and that process of what you had to do. Some people don't get a message like that, or that they don't heed the message that they get. And my feeling when I read that was, wow, this, but she seemed to be okay with it. I don't know, I wasn't there. But I've thought, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then the universe comes in and moves you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. And
Yeah.
I think my family thought I was insane. It
Oh,
was
sure.
like,
Yeah.
but they never criticized. They never said, "What are you doing? Do you think this is wise?" Not my mom, my brother,
Uh-huh.
very close to my family. They were like always positive and supporting. And I know because a couple of years later, when I talked to my mom when I was through this process, she was saying she was absolutely horrified,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
afraid, because driving alone as a woman in
Yeah.
Africa, South Africa, is not the
Sure.
safest place in the world.
I understand. I
And
understand.
not knowing where I was going to end up in the night, where I was going to sleep, or the internet wasn't so great at that time.
No,
So,
it wasn't.
it
That's
was
true.
just, I
Yeah.
was just this, nobody would know where I was for days or weeks. It
Right.
was,
Right.
and she said what she did in the end was she just realized that she's going to kill herself worrying. So
True.
she's just going to stop worrying, and
Wow. I
she's
mean,
just going to trust that I know what
trust
is best
in the
for me.
universe.
So,
Now, see, there's a difference between my mother and yours in that regard. Not that she's still alive, but
mm,
she actually died from worry.
yeah.
My niece was in an accident, and that was the sort of the kicking point. My mother ended up leaving the planet. She couldn't handle it anymore. And so, yes, how hard that is, though, to give
Yeah.
over and to say,
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do, so I'm not going to worry about it. it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something I've always, yeah,
Amazing.
I know.
Amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
So yes, I had similar situations, silly situations. I remember when I was in my 30s, I wanted to take karate classes, and so I did. And my mother called my brother, who was 13 years older than me. What is wrong with your sister? She's divorced, and now she's taking karate classes. And he said, "It's really good for you, Mom. Plus you learn
Mm,
how to take care of yourself, and it's good exercise." And so he didn't, go with her on that one. But
yeah.
there's a lot of people who have criticized me, calling me a gypsy, calling me, "What's wrong with you? You move all over the place, and
Mm,
I've had that happen. And
yeah.
all I can say is that that's just my path. That's just who I am. I
Yeah.
can't be who I'm not. So I
Yeah.
love it. And I
Exactly.
love yours. Um, when this opens, you talk about every day has a color. I love
Mm.
that. And
Yes.
you say, if you ask me what color belongs to Monday or Thursday, I can't tell you because they appear. The smells are inside of me. When I wake, it's as if they follow me from that place I go to when I fall asleep at night. How poetic is that? That's so beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you say later, I guess that's what magic is, what living a magic life means. Magic isn't something weird or evil or dark or ritualistic. It's waking up in the morning and watching the sunlight stream onto your bed through the tiny gaps between the curtains and that you didn't close properly the night before. Oh my God. Just beautiful. Really,
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Thank you.
A lot of people, you paint words. So you are a painter, but you paint words because you utilize the senses. And I have a hard time in my school when I'm telling my students I want them to write something, and
Mm.
I say, please show me, don't tell
Yes.
me. And
Yes.
that's
Show,
what you do.
don't tell.
Show
The
me, don't tell
classic.
me. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Yeah. And a
Yes.
lot of people say, oh, it's too descriptive. And no, it isn't. it
No.
brings you into the words. It
Mm.
allows you to see what the writer says. And so,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and I think colors are so important in life as well. Like for me, colors is super important. You have like,
yes, yep,
red means something and blue means something. And when you wear that color, that feeling is
it
just,
does. You
it
you
just
embody that
surrounds you.
feeling.
Yeah, you become it,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
true.
colors
That's
are
true.
so
Yeah,
amazing.
very true. Andrea, we're talking about The Dreamer's Life that Laurika wrote and is our first in the book club series. Also, and you can get it on Amazon. You can get it, and I believe I wrote it in the bottom in the chat area of this, so you can see it. Next month on the 14th, we're doing Witchlight. It's a historical novel by Susan Fletcher, just in case anybody wants to read it. And we'll be talking about it. And we'd love you to read it so you can ask or share what you think about it too.
Yes,
It
please.
happens. Yes, it will be on Laurika's channel, but I'll definitely have it up with the link to let you know. Talk to me about shadow. You bring up the shadow here in your words. You say there are people on this earth that are born with shadow.
Yeah, yeah. It's I know we talk a lot about shadow work and the shadow
Uh-huh.
self, and I
Yeah.
don't know when I was writing this if that was maybe
What you
subconsciously
were
what
in.
I felt, but I
Uh-huh.
also feel that it's more than just there's something else there. There is something outside that of me that I felt I had this shadow with
Aspect.
me, like
Yeah.
it's always there.
Uh-huh.
And I do think that is probably something that came from a past life that I connected with something, and it followed me here.
Uh-huh.
Like you make these commitments to in different lifetimes, and
Right.
things
Right.
follow you through. And because about maybe a year ago, if it was that long ago, I had a session with a lady. I don't know what her name is now, but she was really good. My sister in law recommended her.
Okay.
And I had a session and she did my Akashic records.
Uh-huh.
And she talked about this energy that's around me. And that is this shadow,
Okay.
what I would may
What
have
you would
thought
call it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
called the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about how it's been with me for lifetimes and lifetimes. And it was really, truly interesting because I immediately thought of what I wrote in the book about the shadow that's with me. But I
Right.
don't know if it is necessarily that either because she saw it as negative,
Oh,
bad thing, not a good thing.
okay.
So I don't know if it was something else that she saw that I did not wasn't aware of.
Right.
But for
Right.
me, I have this interesting relationship with the shadow, and maybe it is just my shadow self, like Jung
Yeah.
talks about our light and our dark, because
Right.
it becomes it's such a part. It's all those things that I do that might be hurtful or painful or
We all do that. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
we do. We do.
Yeah. And
And
sometimes you have more of that in you and you attach more to that. And other
right.
times you have the opposite and you attach more
You're
to
right.
the light side of you. But
Yes.
I think there has to be that balance of
There is a
both.
balance and you have to
Yeah.
work at it. You're
Yes.
absolutely right because people do live in shadow. They live
Yeah.
in that
Yes.
negative, mired down, whatever, icky stuff.
Yeah.
Um, that could be cleared, but
Yes.
that's what they choose to because of but other people live maybe more over here, like the angel and the devil on the
Yes,
on your
exactly.
shoulders, you know.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I mean, we all have it, and we all can have those experiences, and we don't like what we see, and we want to change it. But you say here, you can attempt to suppress it. I love this. Hold it down, lock it away. You can attach yourself to something else, a man, alcohol, drugs, a child, anything so you can pretend that the shadow isn't there. And I probably told you guys the other day, I'm working with the tarot cards as archetypes. I'm doing a series on that.
Yeah.
And this speaks to the Empress, which I'm going to talk about soon. When I was reading about the Empress as a card, she, if she doesn't embrace one side, she ends up being that other side, and or we become more addicted to something because we don't want to think we don't want to be in our body. We're almost, or we don't feel like we're worthy, or there's something about it that comes up for us, but it's just an illusion. It's really just an illusion, and we can change it. We can
Yeah.
definitely change it. So Andrea says, shadow allows for 3D contrasts in physical realm, an opportunity to clean up old beliefs left over. It does. Christian or heaven and hell. That's right. I love that. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for
Yes,
sharing.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the final option that you give. It's to accept it, to live with it, not give into it, but to try to understand it and sometimes allow it to take you. Very
Yeah.
good. Very
Yeah.
good.
I think that's how I've learned to deal with it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dipping your toes in and saying, okay, I'm not going to run away from it this time. This time I'm going to see what I can do about it, let's say,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not scold yourself if you fall back into it, because it can happen. It can happen
Yeah.
to the best of us. Yeah.
I think for me, my Buddhist practice has really taught me that a lot, of not to be angry with yourself if you do something that you don't might not feel so proud of, or
Right.
like you
Right.
say, not scold yourself, or if
Right.
something, because we're all going to do it. It's going to happen. We're not always going to do the things that is maybe
Yeah.
for our
Yeah.
best, or
That's
that's
true.
always the best thing for other
It is.
people. It's human nature.
It
uh,
is human nature.
how I
I
feel.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Um, is there any part of this that you would like to talk? I mean, I could spend days doing this, but is there any
um,
part for you that you would like to talk about?
you know I think there's I was thinking, which part for me is the most. I was thinking about, when talking about the book, what would I say is the most, um, part that had the most impact for me, the time
Mm-hmm.
that was the most powerful for me on this whole journey. And I
Okay.
would say that it's on close to the end of the book, on the page 101, which is holding on, letting go.
Uh-huh.
And the experience I had there was just the most, was when I would say I let go completely. Because what happens when you start a journey like this, for me, what happened for me was, in mentally, you think, okay, I've left everything behind, I've sold all my stuff, I have nothing left, I just have some money in the bank, passport, suitcase, that's it. And I'm in this world, and now I'm free. But
Mm-hmm.
you're not, because it's just the physical stuff is gone, maybe. But
Right.
your mental, emotion, that's not free. That takes a long time to get there.
Right.
And I
It
also
does.
discovered that the longer I felt that I was, the less things I had, the more attached I became to the few things that I had, instead
Mm-hmm.
of,
Sure.
saying, "Oh no, it's okay." It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I got to this little town in, called Port Alfred, in the Eastern Cape
Mm-hmm.
of South Africa, I, suddenly had this experience of, I have to now just, this is the time. I've come so far on my journey. I need to release. I need to, not physical, but emotional, mental, everything.
Uh-huh.
And I went, lied on a carpet on my back, and closed my eyes, and just literally let myself go. Didn't do any, some people would say, crazy, you should do some protection beforehand, but nothing. I just did it. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know where I went. I went somewhere, it was not pretty. It's not
Okay.
something you can even describe. Can't describe the place or anything. It was just very dark.
Uh-huh.
Um, Inside me, it was everywhere. It was just dark. But eventually, after all of that, something shifted in me,
Right.
like a light. I just started to see this tiny bubble of light, and I just went towards this,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt as if I was releasing something big, something that wasn't serving me. And as I came out of that, I just realized that I've let it go now. Whatever it was that was holding me back, whatever it
Yep.
was didn't work for me, that was painful, that things I have done, and I have had so, maybe it's my Christian upbringing, but guilt is always my biggest
Oh
thing.
yeah.
So much
Yeah.
guilt. And it just felt at that moment that it's all left behind. It's like a clean slate,
Right. It's a
new fresh
cleansing.
page.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I've been feeling since then up to today. This is when we had our talk with Andrea and
Mm-hmm.
Kim about the changes in that we see today. But that was my big change that happened then,
That was
and
your
that was in
shift.
2013. So it
Okay.
was since then that I've just been trusting
Uh-huh.
and filling myself with things that I felt I can
Mm-hmm.
handle. And
Yeah.
sometimes life brings things I think I can't, and then I just go back to that space where I was in Port Alfred, and I realize I can
Mm-hmm.
handle it.
Absolutely. I love you said it. After all of this, lost its power.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to face your fears that way because what if something happens? Oh my god, what if I
Mm.
bring in this or that or whatever? But you didn't.
Yes.
You faced all of those at the same time. And it reminds me also of how much baggage we carry, you know
Yeah.
invisible but possibly,
Yeah.
but our
Yeah.
backs carry all these, and it's all back there. It's usually in the
Mm.
past.
Yes,
So you
exactly.
you brought it you brought it up forward, and you looked at it, and you saw the good and the ugly and everything else about it, and then I just feel like you went and threw it into the ocean there at
Mm.
Port Alfred. And how
Yes.
beautiful is that? I mean,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
sea can absorb it. The sea has so vast, it can
Oh,
take everything.
yes.
It can
I
have,
feel that the
yeah,
ocean can take.
can take.
Today, my husband and I went for a little drive down towards the sea, and it was really cold because this is
Oh,
Sweden. But
sure.
we got out and we just quickly walked down to the beach and just stood there looking at the sea. And
Oh,
I just went and did a little woohoo because
I
I just
know.
felt this,
Yeah.
connection with the ocean, and then went back to
Uh-huh.
the car and just felt so good. There's this,
Almost like I always say I feel so alive when I'm here. It's like your
yeah.
senses are in overload, but you feel, and you're in your body too,
Yes,
because you can
yes,
see it's
yes.
like, oh, the air is clean, and oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah. There was
That's
something
great.
you said about the baggage on your back, and that's one
Mhm.
thing I think when I do healing, I first thing I do with any client is I do go for the
Shoulders.
shoulders.
Right.
It's like there's something that I feel like you connect with that person almost better. Like I connect better when I touch the shoulders first than when I start anywhere
Right.
else. And
Right.
also the shoulders carry so much
We
weight.
shoulder a lot of things. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
They
interesting.
do. I know that's one of my weak points, or weaknesses. I don't stand up with my. I was always, you need to stand up straight.
Yes, me
But
too.
there's something about it. Yes, we do. We carry our shoulds on our shoulders. Well, thank you, Juno. We should.
Yes.
Yes, we should do this. We should do that because that's what
Yeah,
we're being told all the time. We don't
yes,
have to
you know.
do anything we don't want to do.
Yeah.
I found that out at the dentist. Every time I went to the dentist Saturday, and I don't like it. Nobody likes it, but I put up with it. So she's got this water drill that she's going to clean my teeth with, and my teeth are very sensitive because they're very, what is the word? The gums are receded. And she
Oh,
started
yeah.
working on it, and I said, oh, because it hurts. And she said, oh, do you not like this? You don't have to have this done if you don't. I don't. I had a choice. And,
You
and
don't?
I know. I just always have, if that's what I'm supposed to do, I do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so but it was a should. It
Yeah.
was a should. And I
Yes,
felt, oh,
exactly.
this is great. I don't have to, she had to go in there with something else, but it was the cold of the water and the electricity of
Yeah,
the
I get
pool.
that sometimes too.
Oh,
It's very
it hurts.
sensitive. I have the
It is.
same. And I'm
Yes.
just lying there like, "Oh."
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. It was that show that I saw my familial shadow when Sue Dowdy shared that I said, not now, the way she said it struck me. The Galvin mean gene. I didn't escape it, but I could bring it to a safe conclusion. She must be going to say. Very interesting, Andrea. It's
mm,
interesting that we do have these. I had an aha moment yesterday on Susan's show, a couple of them actually, with when I was working with Susan.
mm.
And I love that when that happens. It doesn't always happen, but animals don't carry baggage because they don't have shoulders. There you go. So
That's it.
I'm coming back as an aardvark, I guess. I don't
I'm
know.
coming as a meerkat. Meerkats are my favorite animals. It's
Are
like
they?
my spirit animal is a meerkat. I don't know, like
And I
my
love
familiar or
koalas. I
whatever.
love the koalas.
Meerkats are just,
Oh,
yeah,
yes, they are adorable, the meerkats. They really,
yeah.
really are.
I've seen them at the strangest places, Ali. I was
Really?
staying
Oh,
in a hotel in Port Elizabeth when my mum was very ill. She had leukemia at the end
uh-huh.
of her life,
Ooh,
and
okay.
I went to help. And I was staying there for just went away for a couple of days to get some, just be a little bit ref-
Yeah,
for
take a break.
myself. And I
Yeah.
was sitting outside. It was cold. It wasn't like a warm day. And I looked to my left, and this is in a city, in a garden area, and next
Mhm.
to a pool at a hotel. There was
Oh,
a meerkat running. And I was just like, how is this possible? Like, because this is my
yeah,
animal, right? And there
right.
it is.
There
It's
it
so,
was.
it's Africa, but this is a city, it's like
Yeah, I
beyond.
know. Yeah.
It's like,
I'd
yeah.
almost be afraid, oh no, what is it going to get hit by a car if it goes out
Oh,
here?
yeah,
How much
yes.
longer?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
no, he seemed quite knew what he was doing. So,
Isn't that funny?
yeah.
Which brings up the fact that I had read during 2020, during all the lockdowns we had in all the countries, that the animals came out from the country into the city and were walking around the cities because there
Yeah.
was nobody there. And
Yes.
so and we always push them out with our presence, but there wasn't
Yeah,
that many people.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like I feel bad for them. We
Mm.
keep taking away where they are supposed to
There's
be, but
space. Yeah,
that
exactly.
must have been a sign for you, though.
Yeah.
If that's your animal totem.
Yeah, I
Wow.
felt that definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Andrea says she loves that your animal showed up like that.
Yes,
That's awesome.
Andrea.
I
It
will
was such a
say.
I did like a double take, like, you blink a couple of times to make sure,
Yeah. Am I really seeing this?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Uh,
That's funny. Um, all right. Well, I'm glad you shared that. There's two other things I want to talk about, at least here. One is about patterns.
yes, yes.
Um, my husband always gets after me. Oh, it's clearly a pattern with you, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, give me a break. I
Yes.
know it is. You don't have to remind me it is. But, you say here that uh, your journey is to recognize your strength. Thank you. And I think that takes courage. I think that we were talking just before the show, and it's the hardest lessons that we have and the things that we remember that we've gone through that make us stronger, that give us the courage to go on. We don't want them when we're going through them. They're awful sometimes, but they always provide us with great growth. And, but
Yeah.
what was it? Somebody said they just don't want A, F, G, E. They don't want another effing growth experience.
Oh, yeah. I had
And
enough
I
now. I
get
don't
it.
need one more.
I get it. I get it.
Uh, yeah.
Um, let's see. Down here, you felt the shift. I could not say what it was. Maybe it was being completely on my own, which is a big shift. When you're by yourself for that amount of time and you only have you to worry about, then you become more selfish, and that's okay because that's how you get to grow as well. You
Mm.
focus on you and what makes you happy, not so much what makes others happy. And for me, that was both good and bad, you said. And then you talk about your brother and his wife call it our patterns. We all have them. We repeat these patterns in our life over and over until we learn from them. And some of them are so
Yeah.
insidious. I hate them. But it happens. It
Yeah,
happens.
it's
Yeah,
so true.
it
That
does.
is so true. Patterns are I think I made a video about patterns a while back,
Good.
couple year or so, just over a year ago, about
Okay.
patterns, and I think they are so important for us to work with. They're
Hmm.
super important because they are like those things that come up. It's like that friend that always picks the man that's like, or you
Yes.
you yourself, like me, always takes the wrong job, or it's like
Right.
that
Right. Yeah.
same.
I
I
didn't see
I had
that
a
this. Yeah.
time.
I
Yeah.
didn't see it when I went into it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I had this
Uh-huh.
time where I had this really every time I took a job, my boss was harsh, and I don't I had this thing with the boss that was
Yep.
never. And at some point, it shifted when I started working with certain kinds of, working with myself and how I deal with control and authority. And I'm not
Right.
anti authority. I think I grew up because the way I grew up in South Africa during apartheid, it was
Hmm.
very much a country of fear based. You better listen to what everybody tells you, because if you don't question, you'll
Right.
get into trouble. I as a child, I had quite a few questions, and it was literally beaten out of you. You don't, I'm
Yeah.
not talked out of you. You literally get hands
Yeah.
out if you ask the wrong thing,
Yep.
slaps, on the bum at school. You don't
Oh,
ask questions at that time, so it
isn't that a
gets
shame?
out of
Wow.
you. So you reach this thing that, okay, the authority is, you have to fear it, and it's
Hmm.
always right. You don't question it.
Correct. Yeah.
That is a pattern. When you develop it as a young child, it doesn't something that just goes out
Goes
when
away.
you reach
No, you're right.
21 or whatever,
You're right.
or when you
Yes.
move to another country, like I moved to the US. It doesn't change. You
It
have to
doesn't change.
actually
You
work
can
on
move anywhere and it's going to be that
it. Yes,
pattern is
the
going to show
same
up.
thing.
I
So
had that with my mother. My mother has a lot of reasons why she was the way she was, but she did not allow me to get angry.
mm.
And every time if I furrowed my brow and I went like this, now
Mm.
stop doing that. You stop it. And I would get yelled at and I could not say my truth. Other parts of her were wonderful, but it was
Yeah.
when I was going to express any kind of anger, she didn't want me to. So guess what that made me? It stuffed the anger down. And then I ended
Yeah.
up taking it out on something else or someone
Mm.
else. And, it was awful. It just kept coming and coming and coming. And it took a long time for me to relax and stop that,
Mhm.
knowing that, and one of the things I thought was so interesting was that we tell people how to treat us by the way we act.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have a friend who she just says it like it is, you guys suck, you don't do this good job. She'll tell anybody anything like that. And they don't like it, but she can get away with it, is what I call it. She gets away with
Mhm.
being that kind of a crusty person. But if I did it, always, oh my God, why would you do, are you
Mhm.
passive aggressive? And, I'd get
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
but, we do attract people to what we believe. So in a way, you may have
Yes.
attracted those
They're
bosses.
your mirror, right? They mirror
Yeah,
what you, yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly.
It's awesome. Andrea says, "Wow, awareness of growth opportunities doesn't diminish who we truly are." That's very true. When someone says something in a shaming way, I found the perfect response is, "And I love that. I love that.
Good
What would
one.
you like me to do about it?" Good for you. Good for you. It takes the winds out of the sails of shame. Thanks, Andrea. I like
Mm,
that idea.
mm,
Um,
mm,
because, people do try to shame us into something,
mm.
if they're wanting to control. Yeah, definitely. Um, creativity, right near the end again. I mean, this whole book I could spend a long time talking about, because there's so many wonderful ideas in here. But creative people, well, people in general see the world differently, you say, and that's very true. We all see the world differently. We see it through the lens of so many things, through our
Yeah.
upbringing, through our spirituality, through our education, where we live, where we were brought up. And then you said, an artist once told me that as a creative person, we are allowed to have an ego because we are God. We bring life. We bring something alive. Fuck humility, we give life. I love that. I love that so much. And then you bring in this mindfulness. Because we see things that other people don't, we open things that should probably not be open, like the box of Pandora. The truth is, we know when we open the box, we know we will do some damage to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Very deep.
I find it's really interesting that um, I don't think necessarily that when you create some, I don't know. Maybe this is a pattern, but when I write, something inside of me changes. I shift, and it's not a good shift, if I can
Oh,
call it that.
really?
It's
Okay.
not a joyful place when I write. But I have this feeling that I have to write. I cannot not write.
Right. Right.
So
Hmm.
I
Do you
limit
think you're
my
not
writing.
worthy of writing, or you think what
No,
you've
no,
got
it's
to
not that
say?
at all.
Not
It's
that.
just
Okay. Okay.
I write.
Uh-huh. All right.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
But in my who it feels like something, and that's maybe the shadow side. That's when I talk so much about the shadow, because that comes out of me when I write. So when I
Mhm.
really get into, I will write for a certain amount of time, and that's all I do at this moment. My personality changes to
Hmm.
become more, I don't want to use dark in a negative sense, but it's
Okay.
much more serious and heavy, and even a little bit like, um,
Renegade.
yeah, yes, yes, and
Yeah.
like
Okay.
I'm not naturally a person. Well, I don't think I'm naturally a person. I'm more on the kind and generous side, I think. But
You're
when
right.
I write, I'm the other side. So it's
Okay.
almost like my writing is my shadow side.
Okay. Oh,
My,
wow. Now
but
that's an
the
interesting
writing,
concept.
yeah, it's
So Andrea says, does
yeah,
writing open a
Andrea.
battle with the ego?
Maybe that's
Maybe.
exactly what it is, because this is what that artist guy said. And it really, it, for me, when he said, you God, you,
Yes.
to me, it was like, no. The
Yes.
immediate reaction I got was like, you can't say that. It's like,
Right. Right.
so I think, Andrea, you are right. It opens the battle with ego.
And
That's
so it's
exactly what
again,
it is.
yeah, and it's
Mm,
again, it's a perception. I
yeah.
remember my mother watching Shirley MacLaine in a movie talking, and she was standing on a beach screaming, I am God, I am God. And my mother was so mortified. She didn't understand that we're all parts of God, that every,
Yes,
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 and that we
yes.
have the ability to create and come from that source,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with it. But the Christian right, might say, you aren't God, he's up here, you're nothing,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
nothing.
that's blasphemy,
It's
you know?
blasphemy, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what the conventional wisdom says it is. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
So, wow. Now that's funny. Juno says that it brings out her inner snark. And so,
Interesting.
I remember writing two things I want to say about writing. The first thing is that most of the time writers write when something's sad. Like you'll see a lot of poems that are very sad or misery,
Mm,
or somebody's
mm.
dying, or there's some breakup or whatever. And country western songs, full of them.
Yeah,
Um,
the
but
blues.
I remember once writing a short story, and it was something like I never wrote before. It wasn't one of my, because I write more nonfiction on topics. That's how I write.
Mm,
But this was a story, and it was very sexual. It was very, descriptive. Let's put it that way. And my daughter wanted to read it. And I said, sure. Well, she was so uncomfortable because her mother wrote that. And that was
Mhm.
not her mother that was writing, which I understand.
Yeah.
And it never, I mean, it wouldn't get published. I wasn't putting it anywhere, but it really made her uncomfortable. And she was a grown adult. I would never let her read it otherwise. But it was an interesting thing because we have this perception of how
Mm.
somebody is.
Yeah.
And when they step a little bit off into a different area, we go, oh,
Yeah.
really? And
Yeah.
it, yeah, but we're all that. We're always that. We just don't
Yeah.
always show
I
it.
yeah. I think for me, just to um, end the writing thing and my
Uh-huh.
how I feel about it is
Yes.
to me, when I write is what I'm supposed to be doing. I do
Right.
feel that. There is no question about it because that
Okay.
is I've always told since a little kid, I've told stories, I've read, I'm journalist.
Hmm.
You know, for me, words are my
Words
life,
matter. Yep.
basically.
Hmm.
So but I do find that when I really go into the writing, and I think you are right, Ali, that when you write, you um, writers that we usually write about things that, like I wrote there, that's really harsh things. We go into the
Hmm.
exploring things maybe that is not normally often explored or talked
True.
about, and then
Yeah.
you write about those things, and that and for me that's definitely what I do. But I always try to find some sort of light even in any dark situation, even how no
Right.
matter how harsh it is or how hard times are. There's always that um, something. For me, I need the balance. It's
Hmm.
like the
Hmm.
two sides. I need both of them. I can't just
Understood.
write something negative, and I mean that would
Yep.
just not
Yep.
work for me. So I
I
always
understand.
find the light bit somewhere in the darkness.
In the dark.
The
That's
two.
beautiful because I think we all need to do that. It's,
Yeah.
right now we need to find the light as we had to find it during COVID when there wasn't
Yes.
much light going on. We were hearing all about death and all kinds of problems. And we certainly don't want to just dismiss the idea of it, but we can find the light. We can say, it gave me more time for this. I learned this about myself. I learned how to bake bread or whatever, whatever
Yes.
aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Andrea, very interesting. What do I have to prove? Who am I writing for? What if I'm wrong? Am I exposing my Achilles heel? What will people think? Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I feel the same way. Um,
Hi,
I felt the
Candy. Sorry.
Oh, Candy Soul?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, welcome. I felt the same way yesterday when I started off. After I said it, I thought that was a really stupid thing to say, but I said that it was the stupid bowl instead of the Super Bowl and how I feel about it. And I don't think I made a lot of people really happy about that. And yet at the same time, I've been admonished to say what it is I feel about whatever I want because it's my
Mm,
channel. But I don't like
mm.
bringing people down. I really
Yeah.
don't. It's a really
Yeah.
hard thing for me. After I say some things, and I think that's part of our shadow. After I say some things, I think, well, that was really stupid. I should not have done that. But
Mhm.
it's sort of like your mouth opens and out come the words, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't, yeah, you
I
can't.
think the thing with creativity in general for me is that we we when I create, I don't think about who am I creating for. I
Uh-huh.
don't think about what people are gonna think about it.
Good.
I it just
That's good.
is
You let
something
it
I
go.
have to do.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
and then and then later, years later sometimes, or a year later, or it's I don't often share what I do immediately. It has to kind of
Germinate.
simmer
Yeah.
there in the back, and then it will come out somehow. And then it happens like either I will edit what I wrote a little bit so that it form into a book or whatever it is
Mhm.
that happens. But it's like it's for me.
Yeah.
It's
I
definitely
understand.
100%
Yeah,
writing
because
for
that's who
me.
you're really writing for.
Yeah,
Everybody only writes for themselves
yeah,
first, and then if they decide that they want to share it with somebody, they do. Otherwise, there's probably, that's why there's so many unpublished manuscripts out there,
Yes.
actually, from some
Yes.
people, because they're
Yes.
not yet ready to share that. And
No, it has
that's
to be
okay.
time is right. But I also think as creatives, we've never had a better time in the world than now.
True.
Like there has never been a time that is
Right.
better for us to share our work. I'm not talking about financial or any of that kind of thing. I'm talking
Mhm.
about being able to share what you created with
Right.
somebody else or with the rest of the world. I mean, we can
Yep.
all create a YouTube channel and share our art, or we
Right.
can publish on Amazon for free. I mean, my
Mhm.
goodness,
Yeah.
that just
There are no
is a
excuses, in other
miracle
words.
to
Yeah.
have that
Yeah. Uh-huh.
opportunity. Put your music on like some of the music sharing
Right.
places. You know,
Right.
it's we have this endless possibilities of just
We
creating
really
and
do.
sharing it when
Yeah.
we're ready. So
And again, it's one of those things that here we are in this moment, and I would never have imagined being here. And,
yes,
I
and
recognize that all the
yeah,
time. It's one of
yeah,
my, one of the things I go, oh, like when I went to Europe, oh, I'm in Europe. Oh my God, I never thought
yes.
I'd be in you, that kind of thing. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way I live my life now. I have to pinch myself sometimes because I
Yeah.
can't almost am I awake? Is this a
I know.
dream?
How
Maybe
did
it
I
is a dream.
but you manifested it. It was your
Yeah.
vision that brought what you
Mm,
have to
mm.
be where you are. Um, Lastly, we picked this date. We picked this date randomly, but I said, let's talk on Valentine's Day. I thought it would be fun. And Laurika has a section in here about a big event, actually, that she went through on a Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And she arrived in Sweden. And is that when you first met your now husband?
No, I knew him before then.
Oh, you knew
Yes.
him before then.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
All right.
yes, yes.
That's good.
But I
But you
was
ended up there with him at that point? Is
yes,
that
for
what? Yeah.
3 weeks, decided
Yeah.
to stay with him.
Uh-huh.
I was actually wondering if I should read that, a part of that for you in the
Yes, please do.
yeah?
Yeah.
It's called My Life in a Bag.
Uh-huh.
I arrived in Sweden on a Friday night on Valentine's Day, to be precise. I wonder if it was auspicious that day, because on that day, exactly 14 years before, I left South Africa. The same day. This time, I left London. This time, I was on my own. I did have someone, I guess, but essentially, I was on my own. When I left London, it was raining, pouring down with rain. My flat looked empty, foreign. It wasn't mine anymore. I stood in front of the door and made my little reiki signs, futile attempts, really. I take my power back. I take my power back. I take my power back. Thank you for your comfort, flat. Thank you for your peace. Thank you for letting me stay here. Thank you for keeping me safe. And then I turned, dragging my suitcase behind me, first up the 3 steps. I crossed the landing where I was convinced some sort of benevolent energy swirled at strange hours, and then down the steep stairs, the ones to the front door that opened onto Wimbledon's main road. I dropped my keys at the phone man's little hole in the wall shop. I slowly walked past the dry cleaners. Goodbye, Stitch Man, goodbye. I'll miss your sewing machine at random times of the day and night. It was a comfort. Never will I hear a sewing machine without thinking of you. Goodbye, Chinese herbal medicine man. Goodbye. Goodbye, 24-hour store guys. You supplied me with water and crisps and the occasional smile. And when I had my midnight ice cream cravings, you were always there for me. I crossed the street, walked past the mall on my right, and the wheelchair lady, who had no legs and only one arm, selling the homeless magazines. Goodbye, always smiling lady, goodbye. By the time I got to the station, I was shaky. My bag felt heavy, even on the wheels. So instead of going in, I continued onwards to the cafe, the Caldi's Cafe. Toasted sandwich and an orangina, please. I sat by the window with my suitcase and my handbag, all I own in the world with me. A few things in a small storage box at the Sureguard, yes. But this here, I thought, this bag, this is my life now. It hit me then. No home. I have nowhere. I felt unsettled, lost. No home. No place to lay my head. Never have I felt so alone as that half an hour in the Caldi's cafe shop in Wimbledon on a rainy Valentine's Day.
And by your choice,
Yes, yes,
but
it's by choice.
that's okay. I mean,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It was by it wasn't like you were dumped by somebody and they threw you
No,
out.
I
But
did
this
all
was
myself.
choice. But you're
Yeah,
still allowed to, you know what I
yes.
mean? We're still allowed to say, "Wow, what have I done?"
Yes.
But I really love the imagery. I can see you doing all those things. I can see you. Yeah, Candy says the same thing. I was right there with you. I was watching you sitting by the window having your toasted sandwich and orangina. I mean, I was there when you said goodbye to the people. It was just very, very beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And if you were alone on that Valentine's Day, you empowered yourself and moved
Yes.
on. A lot of people get really wrapped up in the idea they're alone on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you have to love yourself first, and when you do,
definitely.
when you can, and when you do, and you recognize that there's so much more to be grateful for. But yes, if you can, this is a great book. It's a lot of different stories here. She has others. I've only read this one thus far, but A Dreamer's Life. And she also has some poetry in here as well, or some short. I want to just read the last thing. It says, "It's not a bad thing to want something different. It's okay to want to change your situation, even if your situation is a good one." Had very many people say, "Why did you leave that husband? He's a nice guy. We really liked him. You had a good life. What's wrong with you?" It's
Yeah,
okay. It's okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay.
it's okay. Again, we're doing a book club. Susan Fletcher's book, Witchlight. I will put it down here for you to see if you want to read it. We'll be here back on March 14th on
Yes.
Laurika's channel at the same time, because it's about 7 p.m. in Sweden when we started, and
Yes.
10 a.m. here in the United States in the Pacific section. And so, yes, thank you so much. And thank you, Laurika. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed your book. It's just
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
dear.
Ali. And I
Thank you.
really am so happy to be here with you and talking. And,
Uh-huh.
this took me back
Oh, yeah, I
on
bet
my
it did.
journey because this happened quite a few years ago,
Quite a few years
2013.
ago.
So,
Brings
yeah,
back
it
all
was,
those feelings. And yes,
yes, yes. And
yeah,
it made me feel like I am so blessed to be where I am now because I have such
yeah.
a,
Such a
gone
reflect. You
through.
can reflect back. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So
fabulous.
thank you so much.
Thank you. And I look forward to reading other books with you and discussing them. It's so much
Yes,
fun.
definitely. And thank you everybody for
Yeah.
watching. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, and for your love and your comments.